Good evening, everybody. Welcome to 2021. May it be an improvement over the year we all just had. How you doing, everybody? We are so glad that you guys decided to join us live on a Tuesday night at 9 p.m. for the 69th episode of the Token and Hobbs show.
Go ahead and smash that nice down in the chat, boys.
Nice. Absolutely nice. Episode 69. I thought we'd never make it this far, but here we are. I am your host, Token, joined my partner in crime, Mr. Congressman Dustin Hobbs. What's up, buddy?
How's that Congressman-elect? Congressman-elect.
How's that lawsuit going?
It is going great. I expect recounts on the morrow.
Yes, we have a protest planned in Lincoln any day now. Expect news on that. We will be having a 1,000,000-man Hobbs March.
Yes, literally every person in the entire state of Nebraska is expected to show up. And if you haven't got the memo in the mail yet, it's coming.
It's coming. Yeah, the Facebook event is up. Go looking for that. If you haven't found it yet, then that sounds like a you problem. You're just not good at the technology, you boomers. But it's there. It's there, I guarantee. The 1,000,000-man Hobbs March on Lincoln is commencing.
Right.
It's going to be very nice. So, yes, very, very nice. Not as nice as us reaching our 69th episode.
I was just about to say that. It's almost as nice as 69 episodes in.
Yes, but not quite. So I thought we'd do a little bit of a recap of the year that was, seeing as how this is our very first episode of 2021. First of all, Hobbs, do you expect this year to be any better than 2021?
Oh, we'll see what happens tomorrow, but no.
That seems like a fair question. Is it tomorrow that the Georgia election's happening, or is that tonight?
Georgia elections, the polls just closed, I think, a little bit ago. Tomorrow is when the Senate certifies and hears all objections to the Electoral College elector slates.
Oh, I don't really expect anything crazy to happen there. They're all going to meet. There's going to be a few Republicans that get up and go rabble, 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 rabble. But I think if you're expecting the Congress to give it to Trump, yeah, you're probably going to be disappointed.
Well, this isn't for the Congress to give it to Trump. What's going to happen tomorrow is they're going to hear any objections that any senators and House of Representative members bring up about certifying the Electoral College slates. And if it turns out that there is sufficient evidence for skullduggery or anything that needs an investigation, the slates are sent back to their state legislatures, who then perform any necessary investigation to what may or may not be fraud. So far, from the last count that I heard, we've got 12 senators, including guys like Ted Cruz, who doesn't do this sort of stuff lightly, and 140 representatives who are shit on the slates of Electoral College.
We'll see what's happened. We'll see what happened, but I'm a lot more concerned about this Georgia election going on right now, because to me, this was always the linchpin. I mean, the Biden-Trump presidency was kind of okay. There's a lot of noise and talk about it, but it was the Senate race that was really important, because right now the Democrats need to take both Senate races in order to take a majority in the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very important. That's very important, because even if Donald Trump managed somehow, some way to win, right? If the Republicans don't keep a majority in the Senate, he's out of there. They're going to impeach him. They're going to impeach him the second he's inaugurated, and he's gone. Yep. So the presidential race to me was never all that. It's important, but not as important as the Senate. And a lot of the things that that people are fearing Joe Biden would push through, won't happen unless they control the Senate, right? Like the big fear was court packing, and to this day, Joe Biden has never said whether or not he intends to pack the court, right? So if they don't have the Senate, they can't do that. Simple as that. They can't pack a court if they don't have the Senate. And right now, looking at the election results, it's looking like the Republican candidates are winning both races.
Okay, good.
So right now, David Perdue is beating John Ossoff 51 to 49%. And Kelly Loeffler is winning 50.7 to 49.3. So these are very close races, very razor thin margins that we're talking about here. But so far, but remember, they only missed avoiding this runoff election by razor thin margins, right? It was like a couple percentage point, like a 0.2 or 0.3 percentage points that they missed in order to avoid the runoff election. So not really much a surprise that they're winning by such razor thin margins, but we'll see how that election ends up going.
Yeah. And right now in the chat, we got Scuba Guy 007. That's he lives right outside Atlanta. So this is it hits home for him. So Gary, why don't you drop it in the chat there and see?
Yeah, this hits home for everybody. I mean, yeah, if you live in Georgia, but the entire country is watching Georgia tonight. The entire political axis of the United States is pivoting on who Georgia decides to elect. And remember, if Republicans just take one of the two races, they keep the Senate.
Right.
So that's something and here's the thing about it. I, as a libertarian, I am an agent of chaos. I love it. I love it when the government is split, right? And here's the thing about it. The Republican Party is only really useful in opposition to a Democratic president. I mean, think about it. They had control of the House and Senate in 2016 when Donald Trump was elected. And what did they do with it?
Pissed it away.
Yeah, they did jack shit. They didn't do a goddamn thing with control of the entire federal government.
Yep.
So they're useless. The Republican Party is a useless, pointless political party unless you're counting on them to oppose the agenda of a Democratic president.
Yes, that's absolutely 100% the case. They just stayed the course. They didn't really repeal any of the onerous legislation or anything. I mean, they campaigned shit out of getting rid of Obamacare, but when it came time to, shit or get off the pot, they decided that they'd rather just sit there and fiddle fuck on their phones and let their feet fall.
John McCain decided to live just a little bit too long.
Oh, that piece of shit.
Oh my God! There's a million reasons to hate John McCain, but him getting grandstanding up there, no, that's just reason number 10,000 to hate John McCain.
As if we needed more.
Like, I hope you hear me down there, John McCain. I hope you're listening to this. Can you imagine that John McCain's hell is just listening to random libertarian podcasts talk shit about him? Like that.
I imagine that John McCain's hell is a world at peace.
Oh my God!
That is
like
McCain's hell.
Heaven for everybody else is hell for John McCain.
Yep.
It's like, you guys really don't have any war up here? No, we're peaceful. We get along. We cooperate. We settle our differences peacefully. What the fuck is this? Oh my God! Get me out of here!
Without war, who's going to lobby me for military-industrial complex contracts? It's like, dude, you're dead. Money means nothing anymore.
No, the man is still trying to fabricate a war with Iran, even now, from his place down below.
I bet that the demon that like pokes him in the asshole with a red hot poker is getting an earful every single day about how you like egging, man, why don't you go attack heaven? Why don't you go to Earth and like stir some shit up, huh? He's like, John, you're in hell. Stop trying to cause wars.
I can get you a hell of a deal on some Hellfire missiles.
Bingo.
Like, do you want some fighter jets? I can get you fighter jets. I know some constituents around the country would be very happy to open up a new munitions plant. All we need is a war with North Korea. Can you do that? Can you do that, Satan? Start a war in North Korea, pretty please. Like, he's probably giving Satan some ideas right now. Like, oh shit, I never considered war in Chad. Let's go to war in Chad. I didn't even know that was a place. But yeah, that sounds fantastic. The Chad War. That's what we need. War with Chads. Can you imagine the meme that would be?
Oh,
right?
God.
If we went to war with a country called Chad and it turned into like an Iraq insurgency again, everyone would just be making Chad memes the entire time.
Well, it would, one, because Chad is one of those little shitty third world countries in the middle of Africa, and two, any excuse to draw out a war for multiple decades would be, they jump on it.
Well, absolutely they would. So what are your bets on the first war Joe Biden starts?
I don't know if these, I don't know. It's gonna be. He's not going to want to blow his load all at once and follow through.
I don't
Russia
think he'd be able to get himself up to blow his load all at once. He'd have to work his way slowly.
And you got to bring in the little kids to sniff.
Oh God!
Get his blood there. Get his blood pumping.
Oh shit!
No, it's like you'd think that he's probably going to like talk shit to Russia and be like, "This is for Hillary Clinton, corn pop." It's like.
Corn pop
you speak of, but it's anybody's guess. But judging by the business arrangements and the amount of compromat that he has on him from the Chinese connections that he's got, I'd say who is pissing in China's cornflakes the most right now, and you've got
that's like everybody.
Got Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, and Hong Kong.
Well, you got more than that. You got more than that. You got Vietnam. You got the Philippines, Indonesia. Fucking their border disputes with India and Mongolia of all people.
Right.
I mean, China is an imperial power like we haven't seen since the days of European colonialism right now. Right? America has a lot of soft power. That's what we call American imperialism. It's soft power. America is not going out annexing South Korea. Right? That's not our deal. China is claiming an entire sea as theirs. And they have border disputes with almost every country they border.
Right. And there was some exchanges of fire between Chinese troops and Indian troops. I think about this time last year. There was they shot at each other, and they actually I guess ran out of ammo and started beating the shit out of each other up on the side of a mountain, and a couple of folks died. And Trump was really, really buddy with India's President Modi. And since it just seems like voluntary, spasmodic reaction of the left to whatever Trump does, we have to do the exact opposite. You can probably rest pretty assured that one of the first things Biden's going to do is crank call President Modi and be like, "Fuck you," and well, there goes all that goodwill.
Yeah, that situation was pretty fucking terrible. A lot of people forget that India is also a nuclear power. So a war between China and India would not exactly go down very well.
No.
Especially since neither of their armies could even get at each other, since they'd be fighting across the Himalayas. Like, I can't imagine that terrain is very conducive for war.
No, that is an artillery and cruise missile war almost exclusively.
Well, and on the Chinese side, you have the Tibetan Plateau, which is an enormous mountainous region where nobody lives. I can't imagine that China would have some difficulty with fighting a war like that. But I don't think that's where Biden's war is going to come from. It's probably going to come somewhere in Africa, I would imagine, because I don't think he would get us into an Iraq war type deal. Right, well, we have an invasion of a country with boots on the ground. I imagine we'll see something like Libya, right? Where we go to war, pretend it's not a war, overthrow a government, pave the way for slave markets, and then leave and pretend we did some good.
Yeah, that probably is that seems to be the kind of the modus operandi of guys like Obama and Hillary Clinton, is to fight these little like low intensity bush wars, these proxy wars, and just fuck things up and then walk away winning a Nobel Peace Prize.
Right. I mean, the problem with Trump is he was always one step away from accidentally starting a real war. Like, you remember back in the beginning of the year when he bombed that Iranian general, and then they bombed an empty corner of a U.S. airbase, and everyone's like, all right, we'll call it good. Yeah. That's all we need. Yeah, what if something short-circuited on that Iranian missile and they, I don't know, blew up an American barracks and 50 soldiers died? Then Trump would be like, oh, shit. Now we have to go to war.
Yeah.
Like, that always seemed to be a possibility. Like, oh, Donald Trump would talk tough and accidentally stumble into a war we really don't want, which is, in a lot of ways worse than intentionally going to a war with a country like Libya, right? Because you really don't want to go to war in Iran. That's a war that would really cost us if we wanted to fight it. A war like Libya didn't cost us a damn thing.
Yeah.
So it's easy to just throw a bunch of cruise missiles at a country that can't fight back, and then watch their dictator get sodomized with a rusty knife.
Yeah.
And it cost Libya a lot. It didn't cost us very much.
Yeah, and Gary brings up a very good point down here in the chat. He says the Biden war will be patriots in America resisting the violence.
We'll see.
Yeah, it's probably a little more on the nose than I care to flirt with right now. But like I said, we'll see what happens tomorrow.
That's 2022. All right, we're talking 2021 right here. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Well, actually, you know what? If you think about it, man, there might not even be a Biden war, because how long before he either like falls over dead or gets 25th Amendmented out?
It'll be the Kamala war.
Yep.
Who does Kamala want to fight? Well, it's got to be a country full of black people, because she doesn't seem to like them very much.
Yeah, she might not want to stir up shit with India, being, Indian when it suits her.
I mean, maybe it will be with Chad. Who knows? Maybe we'll get that great Chad war that we dream so much about.
Yeah.
We'll see. So let's talk a little bit about the great year that was. It was a fucking insane year, and things don't seem to be dying down any right now. Because we started the year with the World War III scare. Do we remember this? We were just talking about it. This missile exchange with Iran that everyone thought was going to result in a giant world war. That was the launching point of the year. scare about World War III. Oh, and yeah, by the way, the president got impeached. As an aside, that's not even the biggest story of the year. It's kind of crazy. Any other year, the impeachment of an American president would be the story. But
Right.
you think back on it now, and knowing what we know now about the entire Russiagate thing, it's easy to see now how idiotic that whole thing was and politically motivated. Because at the time, we didn't even talk about it very much on the show
No, because
because
it was
we all
all
knew what the deal
ridiculous.
was.
It's all ridiculous. Like all the stuff about like the PP tape, as Dan Bongino calls it, of the Christopher Steele dossier, talking about Russian prostitutes peed on a bed that Obama slept in one time. It turned out to be something taken out of context. Turned out to be a complete and total fabrication, completely divorced from reality.
Well, we know now that they had no evidence. They knew they had no evidence, and they went forward with this investigation and probe all the same. Like there was literally nothing there, nothing at all to connect Donald Trump to Vladimir fucking Putin. Right? And it's not like Trump has been this dove on Russia either. Like I would like him to be. I would like the United States and Russia to get along, to not be antagonistic. To have friendly relations with each other, if for no other reason than to avoid future conflict.
Right.
There's no reason the United States and Russia. What are we fighting about? What is the big thing that we're butting heads about? Crimea? Who the fuck cares about Crimea?
I'm sorry, but the whole thing just goes back to the fact that just about every single sitting member of our House and Senate is a fucking dinosaur that doesn't realize that it's not 1982 anymore and the Soviet Union has been dead for 30 fucking years.
I think
that's what the big problem is.
That has a lot to do with it. Like people in Congress still think that Russia is the Soviet Union. Like, no, they're not. Russia is fucking weak. They have a shitty economy. They have a shrinking population. Like 90% of their country is inhospitable tundra. Like, what do we have to fear from Russia? Like, maybe Ukraine has something to fear from Russia because Ukraine's in the same boat. But seriously, who the fuck cares? Why should we? Why should we get into conflict with Russia over Crimea? Or what are the... Did you see it was trending on Twitter not too long ago. A bunch of Democrats was showing a clip of John McCain calling Rand Paul a Russian stooge. And this was a clip from years ago. From years ago, when Rand Paul was opposing the plan to add Montenegro to NATO. And the reason was Rand Paul didn't want to cause more antagonism with Russia by adding more Eastern European states to NATO. And for that, McCain's like, oh, you must be a Russian stooge. Like, no, you're a stupid ass warmonger. And it was hilarious because here's Rand Paul making the case for not antagonizing a nuclear power, right? For peace, making the case for peace. And all these Democrats going, oh, look, he's a Russian stooge. John McCain said so. You goddamn. This was that kind of year, right? Yeah. Well, if somebody criticized Trump, they became a saint. Like even John fucking McCain, warmonger McCain, the guy that wanted to bomb every country in the world, right? The guy that in 2008 Democrats fucking hated because he was running against Barack Obama. But because he said Orange Man bad and Rand Paul didn't, they take the side of a warmonger against a peace dove. Like, wow, you guys really stand for nothing, don't you?
Yeah, NATO. The fact that they're still trying to expand NATO now,
There
NATO's.
shouldn't even be a NATO anymore. It's pointless now.
I was just about to say that after the Soviet Union called it quits, the heads of NATO should have got together in a room, popped some champagne, said it's been fun, but it ain't been real fun. Have a nice day. We won. And just called it quits. Now, 30 years on, they're expanding the damn organization and encroaching on, like you said, a nuclear powers territory, swallowing up all those tiny little Eastern Bloc states and just like moving closer and closer and closer. And you're going to wonder, like, to what end? Like, what are you doing putting all of these military bases? Eventually they're going to get sick of having a noose tightened around their neck. They're going to lash out, and as usual, the John McCains and the John Boltons and the warmongers of the world the Lindsey Grahams are going to come out and act like cry bullies, being like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that we got attacked. This is terrible." It's like, how dare Russia put their country so close to our Eastern Bloc military bases?
Yeah, no shit. No shit. It's funny because all of these territories were within the sphere of the Soviet sphere of influence.
Right.
Now, we have no claim to any of this. There's no reason to fear Russian invasion of Europe. No. Russia wouldn't even be able to economically support an invasion of Eastern Europe. They'd get their asses handed to them. There's no reason for any of this.
Yeah, Gary's right. China is the new. Actually, you know what? I take that back. China is not the new Soviet Union. The new Soviet Union is the European Union, because the European Union is using subterfuge economic treaties in order to annex territories around them. I've been saying the EU is the new Soviet Union. The Soviet Union didn't collapse. It just packed up shop and moved a little bit further west. But that's a whole other can of worms. And speaking of things like the EU and whatnot, and NATO, the EU expands economically. The Soviet Union did a lot of expansion economic wise too. I mean, they backed it up with military force, but a lot of their stuff was done through treaties and mutual exchange programs and spreading communism and all that other fun stuff that they did over there. It was largely a shared economic way that they got all those little states in there. NATO is nothing like that. NATO is pure and simple a mutual defense military alliance. So the fact that NATO is still doing these expansions based on what? There is no grand threat from Russia anymore. So what do we get out of absorbing these little states that we're inevitably going to have to float military aid to? And what do these states have by being under the umbrella of NATO, being, essentially having the United States tell them what they can and cannot do with their own militaries?
Yeah, essentially. And I would understand the logic behind a NATO-like alliance in East Asia. That makes sense at this point. Let's face it, China is an East Asian imperial power right now. So if you're going to have a NATO-like organization, having it be in East Asia as opposed to Europe makes a lot more sense. You have Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, Vietnam, India, all these countries that oppose Taiwan. You get all these countries that oppose Chinese aggression.
And even Russia, too.
Yeah, even Russia. See, that's the thing about antagonizing Russia further. It's completely pointless, one. Completely out. And two, if you're really thinking long term in terms of China being a nemesis in the future, wouldn't it be nice to be friends with Russia in that case?
Yeah, they share that gigantic land border, and it would be a lot easier to move troops and material across through Russia and into China than it would be over, the sea or over the fucking mountains in India, like we were just talking about earlier. Russia makes the most sense from that particular standpoint if you're worried about Chinese militarism.
No, we're going to march troops through that tiny little land bridge that lets Afghanistan border China. that tiny little corridor. We're gonna march troops through there. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and then you get bombarded with artillery, and oops, there goes the whole fucking invasion.
Yeah, so it would make sense to be friendly with Russia in that case, right? To be like, hey, look, China is the biggest threat. Let's let's work together on this. But instead, they're like, oh, we're going to antagonize Russia by bringing Montenegro. Montenegro, the valuable contributions of Montenegro into a North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that makes a whole lot of sense.
yeah, and even with the you said like the valuable resources of Montenegro, sarcastically, but you think about any kind of, I mean, even not even like a military alliance or any kind of economic ties or gigantic Russia is, I bet there are parts of land in Russia that have never been stepped on by human feet. Imagine the resources that are under that ground. They've got the resources, we've got the capital for resource exploitation. Let's work something out. The only thing you have to fear is mutual benefit in that. Are they afraid of wealth?
No, what they're afraid of is no longer having a reason to feed the military-industrial complex anymore. That's what all this is really about. I mean, we all know, any logical, sane, rational person knows that Russia doesn't pose any kind of real threat to American security. Neither does Iran, neither does North Korea. All this fear-mongering about these countries, all that is, it's just building up excuses to feed the military. That's what it is. They have to keep filling the military-industrial complex because that's where their buddies are. That's who their friends are. That's why you get these enormous COVID relief packages where they're sending billions of dollars overseas. We haven't even talked about that. That's another thing that happened in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. And the thing is like they can continue to beat their chest about Russia in order to feed the military-industrial complex without any type of worry about negative response. Because if it would be easy enough to beat your chest over China to feed the military-industrial complex. I mean, shit, you could do that and probably to the MIC that way. But the problem is that we don't get shit from Russia. And thanks to the Obama gun sanctions, we really don't get anything from Russia. China makes all our shit. So if we're out there beating the war drums and antagonizing China, they're just like, oh, okay, I hope you can domestically manufacture your iPhones for under $4,000 now, because get bent, America, and then we'd be up shit's creek without a paddle. So Russia is this sort of like really convenient whipping boy that they can use to funnel all the money they want to their cronies in the military-industrial complex, and they don't have to worry about anything actually coming of it.
Yeah, like we said, Russia is not the Soviet Union. It's got a much smaller population, much smaller military. Its economy is absolute shit. It's like Russia is not a country that you need to be afraid of. So all this war, these war drums about Russia, it's a bunch of nonsense. And we weren't even supposed to talk about all of this tonight. We were just recapping the stuff that happened in 2020.
Isn't geopolitics fun?
It's so much fun. Hey, did you get your Christmas present from the government yet? Your $600 check? You there? Hello? Uh-oh. I think we may have lost Hobbs. Oh, well, sorry, everybody. We may have lost Hobbs. Oh, wait. Is he back? Is he back? There you are.
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about.
That was weird. So did you get your Christmas present from the feds?
I don't know, man. My old lady has the card that the tax money, like our tax return money and the stimulus check and shit goes to, and I haven't gone to check on it. So yeah, if it's there, I'm not touching it.
We got ours already. Yay! And an early tax refund. That's how I'm thinking about it. Like, oh, goody, you gave me some of my taxes back. Yay! I guess I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it, but the other way of looking at it is like, it's like, oh, they're just giving us our money back, but at the same time, it's kind of not. This is like new money. This is just inflated currency.
Well,
So
yeah.
it's not them giving us our money back. It's them giving us money that they plan to steal from our children 25 years from now.
Well, see, that's not the worst thing about it. Because if this bill was just $600 per person and some unemployment relief and some help for small businesses, then this bill would be a fraction of what it ended up being. Like if
Yep.
that's all it was, right? Like an honest to God, good faith attempt just to help people out after you've been fucking them over for an entire year. If that's all it was, it wouldn't be nearly so bad or contentious.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because let's face it, the government has been fucking each and every person in this country for an entire year. Right? They've been closing down people's businesses, they've been putting people out of work. I think after all of that, they do kind of owe it to people to make that right with them. Right?
Yeah.
They've been depriving people of income for an entire year. That's taking. Right? You can't take from people without just compensation. And yes, I know it's all coming from the taxpayers anyway, but that does make a certain level of sense. But what this bill is, what the $600 really is just a bribe to get you to accept all the other shit that was in this bill. That's what it was. Like we can't possibly get the American people behind this bill unless we give them $600 to go along with it. So that's what they ended up doing. They ended up throwing $600 at you in order to get you to accept the shit sandwich that they pumped out.
Yeah. It's there's a huge difference between taking a little bit off the top of somebody's productivity as far as taxes go. And yeah, the libertarian position, taxation is theft, don't fucking at me. But there's a little bit of a difference between taking a little bit off the top of activity in the form of taxes and telling somebody that you are not allowed to be productive. One is taking a little bit of wealth away, and the other one is denying somebody the opportunity to produce wealth for themselves. Telling people that they're not allowed to produce for themselves and we're not going to make up for that is fucking criminal in my book.
No, it absolutely is criminal, and there's no real justification for it. Here's the thing. If you're really so afraid of COVID that you feel the need to lock yourself inside your home, do it. But don't. But there's no justification for applying that logic to forcing everybody else to stay inside their homes. Like you don't get to dictate. It's very selfish of people to expect the entire world to stop because you're afraid of a germ. Like you don't get to make that call for other people. I let other people make that decision for themselves.
Yep.
Now let's get a little result, a little update on the runoff election in Georgia right now. Right now, 87% of the votes are reporting in, and both Republicans are still in the lead. David Perdue is up 51.5 to 48.5, and Kelly Loeffler is up 51.1 to 48.9. So still very razor thin margins, but the Republicans are still leading both those races. And remember, they only need to win one. So that's good news.
Yeah, one guy in the chat earlier on when you were saying that they were ahead, and I said good. He's like, "Oh, it's really kind of hard to say good in regards to a alternative would be absolute disaster." So, yeah, in this case, I'll say go Team R.
I mean, it's good in the sense that you get a divided government if the Republicans win.
There you go.
That is the goal for me. Like, there's no libertarians gonna win the Senate seats right now. So divided government is what I'm all about right now. And you know what? I'd say the same thing if the Republicans were in charge of the White House and the House. And I'd say, okay, yeah, give the Democrats the Senate. Divided government is best government. Because you know what Republicans do when they have control of the government? They blow up spending. That's what Republicans do when they have control of the government. So it's actually probably the best scenario to have a Democratic president with Republican control of Congress. Because that is the only scenario in which Republicans actually oppose big spending.
Yeah.
That's the only one. Right? If it's a Republican president and a Republican Congress, then the Republicans are all about big spending. They love that shit. They did it under Bush. They did it under Reagan. They did it under Trump. But when it's a Democrat in charge of the White House, then all of a sudden they remember they're supposed to be fiscal conservatives.
Right. They play the everything I don't like is socialism game, fire up their base and give fiery speeches about how this is bad. As long as it's not for the military.
Yes, of course. Or gender study programs in Pakistan. That's very important.
That is just like, I saw a meme the other day that was, it said, somebody said like, spending that's going to foreign countries and the gender studies in Pakistan, that wasn't part of the COVID relief bill. That's just part of the government's normal spending that just got kind of rolled into one omnibus bill. And the meme with the guy was like, that's worse. You do see how that's worse, right?
They go, yeah, you mean to tell me that this is just a regular thing?
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to feel better about that? And here's the thing, it's not even fucking true. Right? All these, okay, they're separate bills. They were all voted on together.
Yeah.
Right? It was you voted on all of them at once. So don't give me this shit about it being different bills when they were all voted on this at the same time with the same vote. Like, different bills that you voted on them at the same time. You might as well be the same bill. You know, all these fact checkers on Facebook and Twitter being like, wagging their finger at you like, this is false, fake news. We got you. Like, shut the fuck up. Are you serious with that shit? This is not fake news. They were all these bills were voted on together. They're the same bill. I don't care if you technically call them different bills. It's the same goddamn bill.
And, you know, you can't say that Trump at least didn't try. He tried to invoke the, what's it called? The Impoundment Act, where he was like, he's like, I'm going to hold all of this foreign spending money off to the side, and you're not going to be allowed to send it to where you want to send it until you send me, you know, $2,000 for Americans instead of $600 and get rid of some of this other crap. And Mitch McConnell, the fucking traitorous turtle over there in the Senate, decided that he was going to stymie that effort. So not only did we only get our, you know, $600 stimmy instead of a 2 racks, but Pakistan gets $10 million for gender studies, which,
see, this is what we get when California decided to ban straws to save the turtles. Mitch McConnell gained another 10 years because of that. The good job, California.
Yeah.
Save the turtles, my ass.
Not that one.
Not that specific turtle needs to go.
Now, if the stimulus bill had been, instead of $10 million to Pakistan for gender studies, if it had been 10 million American gender studies students sent to Pakistan,
all for it then.
Yeah, I would be like on that, like white on rice. Like, I'd be like that on stink on shit. Just like, yes, please. You can have 20 million of them. Just get them all out of here.
Point me to one of these people and I'll pack their bags for them.
Exactly.
I'll drive them to the airport.
Yep.
We'll do that. And here's the funniest thing about it. Millions of dollars to Pakistan in gender studies. Do you think Pakistan's going to spend a single dime of that on gender studies?
No.
Fuck no, they're not. That's all going to pay for some general's house.
Either that, or I've been seeing a lot of people chattering that it's actually like a money laundering scheme where the U.S. sends $10 million to Pakistan for gender studies, and then Pakistan turns around and spends $10 million on select politicians to get certain concessions or military aid or God knows what else that we send to Pakistan.
Or they just buy $10 million worth of bombs.
Exactly.
America's number one export, military hardware.
Which is not something to be ashamed of, because let's be honest, fucking guns are cool.
I mean, guns are cool, but I want my money to pay for my guns, not Pakistan's guns.
Fair enough.
Like if I am going to be spending money on guns, then cool, I'll spend money on guns. Why does Pakistan get to have my guns? That's not fair. I want my guns.
Yeah, me too.
Like, Jesus Christ, it's all very stupid. Because you're like, well, why would we give Pakistan money so they could spend that money back here? Well, that way they get to justify building all these bombs and doing all these kickbacks to arms manufacturers and their buddies in the military-industrial complex. That's the Ponzi scheme they run here. Yep. That's what it's all about. Right? They don't want to just give $10 million to their buddies. They're going to give it to Pakistan so that Pakistan can give it back to them. And then and Pakistan loves this deal because they get to take all this money and skim off the top and buy cocaine and prostitutes with it. Or whatever the fuck they do. I mean, this is Pakistan, not Saudi Arabia, but maybe they're into the same thing.
I heard one guy joke. I think it was Matt Christensen. He's like, if you've been in any like late '90s chat rooms that had any population, you should know that they need absolutely no education in deviant sexual behavior. Those guys are into everything.
Well, the fucking Sauds have been murdering people in Yemen with our help for the last 4 years. How long has that been going on now? I can't even remember. No. But yeah, this American government has been aiding the absolute worst people in the world overseas, all for the benefit of a few crony capitalists and military industrial complex types. And it's gross and it's disgusting. And it's probably going to get a lot worse under Joe Biden because there's the same kind of sleazy swamp monster that Barack Obama was. And as bad as Trump was, I think his biggest faults were just sheer incompetence. Like, the guy was just a dunderhead. He didn't know shit about anything. He was so bad at his job that some doofus was lying to him about troop numbers in Syria, and he just believed him. He just went along with it. Like, oh yeah, the swamp monster here that I put in charge of Syria policy, he's telling me this. I feel no inclination to actually double check on this and make sure things are on the up and down. I'm just going to believe him. That was the kind of president that Trump was. Just sheer incompetence of the highest order. Even if he wanted to do something good, he didn't know how to make it happen in government because he just didn't know shit. He just didn't know anything. Joe Biden knows how to do things. The problem with Joe Biden is he doesn't want to do good things. He wants to do shit things.
Joe Biden used to know how to do things.
Yeah, that's fair. That's probably
he probably doesn't even know how to tie it right now.
If turtle tasted good, it would be a livestock sold for consumption. I know people who've eaten turtle. I hear it's good.
Yeah. There's 7 different kinds of dark meat in turtle.
Really? That's interesting. You ever have alligator tail? I love alligator tail.
I had it fried like popcorn chicken when I was down in New Orleans.
That's how I had it.
Oh, so
good. It's the best. You wouldn't think alligator tail. It sounds weird to people who haven't been to the South. But yeah, it's a thing in the South. People eat alligator tail, and it's It's delicious.
Yes, it is. There used to be a meat store down the street from where I live. They went out of business because I guess people just weren't going there. It was kind of out of the way. But they sold alligator tail. They sold a lot of exotic meats, but they sold alligator tail, and I remembered what it was like when I had it in New Orleans, and so I went down there and got some. It was awful. It was absolutely terrible because I do not know how to make fried like popcorn chicken style alligator tail. I tried to like make it in a frying pan, and it was gross. It was just
well, why would you? Why would you know that? Like, how many people know how to make good alligator tail? Can you imagine working at the factory farm that grows alligators for consumption?
So that's one of those micro dirty jobs.
Because there's got to be one somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you can eat alligator tail at a restaurant, that means there's some alligator farm somewhere out there in the world that's growing alligators for you to eat. That's fucking wild, dude.
Yep.
Like, what other predator do we eat? Like, I don't think I can think of a single one. Like
bear. Yeah, bear's good.
Yeah, I've never had bear before though. Is it that's
kind of gamey but tough, but it tastes pretty good.
I wonder if you can get bear meat at a restaurant somewhere. Like,
probably
if that's
up north.
Maybe, but I can't imagine raising bears to eat. Like, alligators, at least you can tape their mouths shut.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta let them open to feed them, I guess. You can't feed an alligator with its mouth taped shut. But a fucking bear, that would be absolutely crazy. Yeah. Oh, Adam says snake. Yeah, people eat snake, and the snake is a predator, I guess. Mm-hmm. I've never had snake before.
I have.
Of course you have.
I killed that motherfucker myself. It tasted like nothing.
When I was in Korea, we had this weird animal called a benjo beast. And it was the strangest little creature. It looked like a mix of a raccoon and a coyote mixed with a nasty dog. It was just the weirdest looking animal. And I had this redneck fucking dude on my flight. He was a roommate of mine from Oklahoma. And he went out and intentionally ran over one of these things with his car while he was working. He ran it over with his security vehicle on purpose, and then he cooked it and ate it. This nasty motherfucker.
Oh man,
this is like a swamp creature. Like, you know how in Florida they've got canals with water in them and shit? Well, they have that in Korea, but they're smaller, right? It's just runoff from all the rice farms is what it is, and it's nasty water. And these benjo beasts go down in these benjo ditches and like live in there. And this motherfucker ate one.
Oh man,
nasty shit.
That nasty shit. Awful.
He did it. I wasn't working when he did it. All I heard was the stories that people were telling about this fucking dude doing that. Like, dude, you have like benjo AIDS now.
Yeah, like not only was it like some type of weird bog dwelling predator creature, but it was roadkill as well.
Yeah, he went out and hit it with his car.
Oh shit, that is.
Oh my god, dude! We haven't even talked about a man and a woman yet.
Yeah, let's just knock it out real quick. Yeah.
So the Democrats were having like a prayer to open up their session, and I don't know what overcame them, but apparently they thought it was a good idea to end their prayer by saying "Amen" and "a woman." Like. It's funny because you watch this video of this guy doing this, and you hear him say that, and I couldn't quite believe what I heard. Like, did he just say "and a woman"? What does he think "amen" means? Does he think that when religious people finish praying, they just say "and men"? Like, no, that's not what that means, dude. They're not just saying men. That's not what that means. So what the fuck why are you putting gender into the end of a prayer? It's such a weird thing.
To me, this is like the polar opposite of the Latinx or Latinx thing, where they're trying to de-gender an explicitly gendered language like Spanish. They're trying to de-gender it. This guy's trying to insert gender into a word that has absolutely nothing to do with gender at all. And the craziest shit about it is apparently this guy is a Methodist minister. He should know better. He's doing it anyways. And it just goes out to prove the psychosis, the knee-jerk need people do to try to get woke into every single aspect of their lives, in spite of probably knowing and a woman. And like what did you think nobody was going to catch this? Did the audience that you're trying to reach with this crap probably has no idea that what you said is just complete nonsense? But the religious right is having a field day with this. Libertarians are having a field day with this. Edgy fedora tipping internet atheists are having a field day with this. Like, literally everybody but the purple-haired SJW crowd is loving the shit out of these a woman memes.
Let's take a listen to what was actually said here.
In the name of the monotheistic God, Brahma, and God known by many names, by many different faiths. A man and a woman.
There you have it. Amen and a woman. The absolute Chad move right there, buddy. I wonder if that was planned or in the moment he's like, I've got a fantastic idea.
It really seems like a spur of the moment stupidity. Like you think it's gonna sound good, but then like 5 minutes later, you're like, like
he walks away from the podium and looks at Nancy Pelosi and goes, and she's like, like even she probably wouldn't be down for that if he went up to her and asked, like, I got a great idea. I'm gonna say this prayer. I'm gonna say amen and a woman, and she looks at him like, what the fuck? No, don't do that. You're going to make us look like fucking idiots. Why would you do that? He's like, no, it'll be totally cool. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Amen and a woman. Internet blows up. What the fuck is this?
I think that like Joe Biden's out there calling for coming together and healing and unity and all this, and you're not going to get it that way. Having some dipshit preacher up there say amen and a woman, the entire country is united behind the fact that is the dumbest fucking thing of the year, and we are only 4 days into it right now.
And the thing is, the only defense I've seen of it is not really a defense of what this guy said. It's like, well, why are Republicans freaking out so much about this? That's stupid. Like, no. No one's freaking out about this. Right?
We're laughing at you.
This isn't a freak out event here. This is a holy shit, that's hilarious. What the fuck was he thinking moment? That's right. What this is.
Yeah. Like what you said there is something that Bongino talks about a lot, where he calls it a Republicans pounce story, where the story that the main talks about is not the story, it's the opposing side's reaction to the story. You know, same thing with Hunter Biden laptop. They didn't report on the Hunter Biden laptop, but they sure as shit reported about how, you know, Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump are talking about the Biden laptop. You know, so it's a Republicans pounce story.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's fucking retarded. Okay, we're gonna wrap things up there, but I do have a couple of things I want to let you guys know about. First of all, I talked to Spike Cohen last night on the show. We talked for about 45 minutes about his campaign for vice president and what he expects for the future under President Joe Biden. That episode is now up on the Think Liberty podcast stream, so go over there and check that out. I think it's a fantastic episode. It's also up on our Facebook and YouTube channels. So, I'm starting to see a lot of people commenting on our YouTube channel, and I gotta say, I love it. These are probably a lot of people that got permabanned from Facebook, and they're still able to see our show because we are live streaming on our YouTube channel as well. So thank you, all you guys who are on YouTube watching the show. Very much appreciate your support, and we thank you for that. Don't let Facebook keep you down. That's all I got to say about that. But also, this coming Friday, very special episode, I am going to have the great Scott Horton on the show once again to talk about the future of America's foreign policy, what that would look like under Joe Biden. So I'm looking very much forward to that. It's going to be a great conversation. I expect to say about 10 words the entire episode while Scott just rambles on for the entire length of the episode. But you know what? That's what I'm having him on for him to talk, not me. So
that's not a bad thing.
That's not a bad thing at all. Scott Horton is fucking awesome at this sort of stuff. So I'm so glad he decided to grace us with his presence and come on the show this Friday. That's going to be this coming Friday at 9 p.m. Central. So we got the event up on our Facebook page. So tune in live. Ask your questions. If I can get a word in wise, maybe I'll even ask some of them. We'll see.
Oh, fuck.
All right, guys. That's it for us. Happy 69th episode. Happy New Year's. Can't wait to see you again next week for another Token and Hobbs, and we'll see where this year takes us. Good night, everybody.